In this video, we'll be building a sophisticated data analysis SQL agent and visualizer. This will consist of three agents working together in tandem: the orchestrator agent that coordinates the entire workflow, the data retrieval agent that works with SQL and the database, and the visualization agent that displays the data analysis visually. We'll be using this team of agents to gain deep insights into data stored in SQL-based databases like Postgres. In this example, we have historical data from the energy sector. We have ticker symbols of various companies within the energy sector, and we have metrics like price, market cap, the ratings, dividend yield, free cash flow yield, as well as specific to the energy sector, things like percentage of gas, percentage of oil, and barrels of equivalent per day. We'll be using our team of AI agents to unlock insights into this data set, but we're going to give it an extra challenge. This data set is not clean. What I mean by that is market cap and other fields, they're actually not labeled with the correct data types. For example, this is labeled as text when in fact it should be numeric. And other fields like free cash flow is also in the same text instead of numeric fields. So our agent will need to recognize that and figure out how to handle that. So let's see this team of AI agents in action. So I'm going to ask for the energy table, can you suggest some queries I can ask that might provide insight into the data? So it's going to start with the orchestrator agent. It's going to use the Claude Sonnet 3.5 model. That's the model I'm using for this AI agent. And then it's going to realize I need to call this tool. So this is a retrieve data tool. And this retrieve data tool is linked to this flow here. So it's going to go into this flow, and then it's going to be talking to this data retrieval agent. So this data retrieval agent is a SQL agent. So this knows how to work with the energy table that we walked through earlier. So it's going to go through the columns and it's going to figure out what are the first set of questions that I can ask about this data. So the agents have come back and suggested some very interesting queries to explore. Energy production and consumption, financial performance, company-specific analysis, regional analysis, as well as efficiency metrics. And then deeper down into the specific questions, comparing energy consumption across different companies, year-over-year changes in energy production, and the like. So there's some detailed questions that very quickly you already get a flavor for what insights we can unlock with this data. All right, so it's found some interesting information inside here. It says, I noticed there is some interesting data about production growth between 2023 and 2024, and we can visualize this trend across companies. So let's try that. So I'm going to say, yes, I'm interested in this production growth between these years. So let's please visualize the trend across the companies. So I'll do that. And so we're going to go through this flow. And again, the orchestration agent is going to think about it, retrieve the data. So it's going to go through this path again. And then once it gets the data, it's going to involve the visualization agent in this workflow. So we'll let it think, and then we'll resume when it's finished. So after about 15 to 20 seconds of thinking time, this AI team has figured out this production growth rate and produced a chart. So it's ordered from top to descending order with KEC as the top production rate. So that is from 2023 to 2024, it's grown the most in terms of its oil or gas production. So it gives you analysis here, 21%, and it goes from this number of barrel equivalent to this barrel equivalent. So if you look into here, this is the right number. So it's getting the correct numbers from the chart. And then it follows on with additional analysis for the other companies. And then it gives some additional insight. You know, there's a relatively gradual decrease in growth rates from top to bottom with no dramatic drops between the consecutive companies. So some pretty cool insights here. And then it further gives you what to explore next. Now, I wanted to highlight some cool things here because if you look, there's an error here in generating the chart. Now, what's happened here is that there is an ability to recover from error. So if I go to the execution, so the first time it tried to generate the chart, so I see this flow here, it encountered an error, right? So there's something wrong with the generation. So what it's done is it's recovered from it and then tried again using a different method, and it's in the second attempt been able to generate the chart properly. So there's built-in error recovery in this workflow, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's do a more detailed walkthrough and see how this works end to end. All right, so we're going to start with the orchestrator agent. So this orchestrator agent has a system message, and it's very simple. You are a helpful data visualization orchestrator agent that works with the data retrieval analyst and the visualization assistant. And your goal then is just to complete the user's request. And there's a couple of guidelines. Use the chart tool only when the user asks to do that. When generating charts, just display the resulting URL so that we can actually are in markdown format, so we can display that in the chat. And then I'll give some instructions to use this retrieve tool to fetch the data. So very straightforward. And then what I'm doing here is I'm using Claude Sonnet. So I'm accessing this from Open Router. So this Open Router allows me to access all kinds of models. So I'm just using this for convenience. You can use directly the Claude model APIs directly from Anthropic. So you can do that, but I'm using Open Router. So Claude 3.5 Sonnet is a very, very strong model. So I use it a lot when, especially using analysis workflows. Now there's two tools that are connected to the orchestrator agent. So these two tools correspond to this flow and this flow. So when generating a chart, it's going to call into this tool. And then when retrieving data, it's going to call into this path here. So let's just open up this a little bit more. So this is a very, also very straightforward tool. So I tell this flow to call this tool when we need to generate a chart, and then I tell it that to always escape multi-line strings so we don't get into some error conditions. And then when processing the output of the tool, the URL should always be in markdown format. So here's an example. Now, what is really interesting is how does this tool interact with the tooling flow? So how do I get from here to here? All right, so this is something I want to dive into a little bit more. So this is something called an input schema. So this input schema is the communication between this orchestrator agent and this flow here, right? So what you're saying is I'm going to give it a query, right? So this query is a query describing the chart to generate in JSON format, right? So I'm going to give it a query, and then you're also going to tell it the type of the event. So in this case, I'm going to generate. So I'm going to say generate is going into here, right? And then let me just give you an example. So I'll go into executions. I'll copy to the editor this data from this past execution, so you can see. So I'm going to go into here, and what you'll see is that I'll go into the switch here. All right. So when I do generate, it's going to pass into this sub workflow two things: query and event. Right. So this query here is what I want to kind of plot and to kind of visualize here, and then the generate. So this event is generate. So what happens here is that when the switch determines that the event is generate, it's going to go into this workflow here, and it's going to then go to the visualization agent, which is also it's a little bit more involved here. We're using quickchart.io to render this. So what you are doing is just telling this agent how to process this information. So it's the data in JSON format. So we do that, and then the output of it is a URL that points to the quickchart.io. So in the quickchart.io, I have then the chart that then gets passed back to the orchestrator agent. Now, if I go to retrieve data here, what's going to happen is that this switch will have data, will go into the data path, and the data path will go into the data retrieval agent. So in here, the data retrieval agent is simply going to take this, take the text from the query, right? And so if it goes into this path here, then it's going to take the text related to what the user wants about the query, and then it's going to simply use the SQL and call and generate the SQL information, and it's going to return the value. Now, what's really cool about this flow here is that this is what I call agent as a tool, right? So using this pattern, so this pattern of a switch that I pass an event, I can have this extend to many different kinds of agents. So in this case, I have 2 agents, but I could have 3 or 4. So for example, if I wanted to add a third agent here that does internet research with a perplexity tool. I can just add another in here, and this would be my third agent. So this orchestration agent flow will now have access to 3 agent as a tool flows that extend the power of this workflow. So that's super cool. Now, I wanted to call out a couple other things in this walkthrough. In this Claude Haku is the model I'm using for the data retrieval agent. So if I go into here, again, I'm using OpenRouter, and this Claude 3.5 Haku is in the same family as Sonnet, but this is the faster and cheaper version of the model. So Sonnet is the next level. So this is a cheaper version, but I found that for this use case, Haku works really well. So obviously Sonnet also works, but Haku works really well. So I'm using this, and also in the visualization agent, I'm also using Claude Haku. So I can also use Sonnet here, but Haku is a little bit cheaper, so and a little bit faster. So I decided to use this. This all in all works in tandem to produce some pretty great and impressive results. So let's talk a little bit more about the setup and the tools that I'm using. So Supabase is the Postgres database that I'm using. It's very popular also for vector databases, but we're using this for the traditional Postgres SQL. So now I'm using the free plan. So just sign up for the free plan. Once you've logged in and done that, you'll have a dashboard. So when you create your new project, you can go here and select organization. So let's say NA10 energy. So you set up your database password. So just keep this in mind, because then you'll need to use that in your NA10 setting. So you set this up with your database password. So this is a setting that you'll need. So I've created that already. So I've created this NA10 this project, and then inside the table editor, I can go and create a new table. And inside here, you can say energy is the table, and then you can import data from here, and then upload the spreadsheet. So this is comma separated spreadsheet in here, and then so it'll import it. I've already done that. So once you imported it, you'll get a table like this. And then now to get the credentials that you'll need for this agent, so our SQL agent, you should go to connect. So in this connect, what you'll want to do is take a look at the transaction pooler. So not the direct connection, but transaction pooler, because this is IPv4 compatible. So you want this. So you want to look at all the different parameters. So the host, the port, the database user, and then your database password. So where you want to enter that is you go into the data retrieval agent, and in the so this is the SQL agent. That's what we're using. In the credentials for Postgres, you want to go into here. Right, so you enter the data here. So host, Postgres is the database, the user, and then this password is what you created when you created the project. So you do that. So that's all the setup you need for this project. Just here, and then creating the open router key. So the open router key is simply you go to openrouter.ai, and then you just enter the key. All right, so you just enter the API key. That's it. So to wrap up, we've been able to build this team of AI agents consisting of the orchestrator, the visualization, and the data retrieval agent. This simple but powerful team allows us to gain deep insight into new data sources.